assaulted by the maelstrom of city life. Away from the riverbank and into the heart of the city, the streets were filled with carts and bodies. Everything was in motion. The sky would have been almost masked by the eaves of the houses that bent over the street like praying monks. Smoke filled the air so that her inhabitants breathed nothing but an impure and thick mist, accompanied with fuliginous and filthy vapour, which renders them obnoxious to 1,000 inconveniences. Progress on foot was slow and precarious. Some of the main streets had been paved, but most were packed with sharp Kentish cobbles. The smaller routes lined with compact earth, so that rain turned the road to a quagmire of greyish mud. The way was littered with refuse. During a rainless summer, when the water had not rushed the waste down to the Thames, the city stench was pervasive. For the last half-century, London had been on the verge of collapse. The city had become so large that it could no longer be controlled by the medieval institutions of guilds, aldermen, and the annually elected Lord Mayor. New neighbourhoods had sprung up outside the walls that circled the square mile, which had stood as both the defence and limits of the ancient city. By the 1640s, over 2/3 of the population were outside, in the burgeoning suburbs. The rise of the masterless men, merchants who settled in the suburbs and who did not wish to receive the privileges and obligations of the freedom of the city, was a hazard to the political economy of the capital. Between 1642 and 1648, London became the focus of a civil war that tore the kingdoms of England, Ireland, and Scotland apart. The capital had been the nursery of the present rebellion, yet within a few years the city became the victim of its own creation. When the crown was replaced by an uneasy republic, London lived in fear and trepidation. The revival of order, the Restoration, delivered a hope of return to the status quo ante, but such dreams were a chimera. In 1665, 5 years after the Restoration, which had been welcomed with joy and hope, the capital was struck down by a plague that claimed nearly 100,000 lives. The following summer, England was hit by such a debilitating drought that the Oxford rivers ran dry. Apart from one freak hailstorm in July, there was no rain. By midsummer, London's wooden buildings were so dry that they were all but kindling. It would take only a spark to turn the city into a conflagration. On the evening of Sunday, the 2nd of September, 1666, a fire had started in a baker's shop in Pudding Lane on the north side of the river. Yet fires were an inevitable hazard in London's huddled streets. This time, however, something must have gone terribly wrong, for on the following afternoon, as the diarist John Evelyn was leaving his home at Sayes Court in Deptford, the sailors in the King's Depot just across his garden wall were being mustered to fight the flames. Later that day, Evelyn travelled to the south shore of the Thames at Bankside, and could not believe the scene in front of him. It was as if he was watching a terrible masque of destruction, and he searched for a way to explain what he had seen. The noise and cracking and thunder of the impetuous flames, the shrieking of women and children, the hurry of people, the fall of towers, houses, and churches, was like a hideous storm, the ruins resembling the picture of Troy. Earlier that day, the smoke obscured the sun, making night of day. Yet as dusk fell, Evelyn recorded flames so high that night had been banished, and the dusk turned light as day for 10 miles round about, after a dreadful manner. The sky was crimson, as if the air itself were alight, like the top of a burning oven. But Evelyn could do nothing but mourn for his city. Oh, the miserable and calamitous spectacle, such as haply the world had not seen since the foundation of it, nor can be outdone till the universal conflagration thereof. Before him, the whole of London was ablaze. The flames leapt from street to street and house to house. The firestorm was indiscriminate, consuming everything in its path. As he looked helplessly on, he sighed, "London was, but is no more."
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.